I want to make, first of all, a few points about Petrotrin. I will not get into any elaborate discussion about Petrotrin, but I want to make a few points which I think are important. You know, one of the arguments of the Prime Minister was that the model of using a refinery with oil that you did not produce was not a successful model. It was a model that had been discredited everywhere. And one of the examples that he used was the example of Curaçao. And it is true that Curaçao has had a refinery, and the company Hess was involved in it, and eventually they abandoned the refinery. But I want to let you know that there's a company called Bhoe who has just agreed to take over the Curaçao refinery and to be able to draw oil from wherever they can find it in order to make that refinery a successful economic model. The second thing I want to tell you is that you know a country called Japan? They produce no oil, and they are highly dependent on energy from the outside. And that country has a refinery, and they get oil from wherever they can, and they refine the oil in their refinery. And the third country I want to tell you is Singapore. Now, Singapore is a very smart country. It has very little water. So it gets water from Malaysia, it processes the water, and then it sells it back to Malaysia, as well as have all the water for Singapore itself. When I first visited Singapore in the year 1990, it had a population of 2.2 million people. Today it has a population of, I think, 6.6 million people, and they are thinking about going to 10 million. So, that country has a refinery. They do not produce one drop of oil, but that refinery is a very, very successful refinery. So, what is my point? My point is that it is not true that if you do not produce all the oil you need for a refinery, you cannot build a successful business model for the refinery that you have. You understand? Okay. I want to share that point with you. The second point I want to deal with here with regard to Petrotrin is that, you know, the Minister of Finance himself indicates that for the issue of LPG, all right, which is cooking gas, which everybody uses, right? And imagine buying food and not being able to buy the gas to cook the food, right? And it's already tough enough to buy the food. The subsidy for LPG, which is borne by Petrotrin, is $170 million a year. If we do not have a refinery, and the refinery produces the following things: LPG, aviation fuel, motor fuel, kerosene, diesel, and fuel oil, okay, as a base, from which all the other things are derived. And if we do not produce these things, LPG, anymore, who do you think will subsidize the $170 million that Petrotrin will not be able to subsidize? You think government will subsidize it in this particular mode? No. Who do you think will pay for it? You, me, whoever has a house and a cooking gas stove, right? And all of these things they have not even begun to think through from their decision in Petrotrin. The third thing I want to tell you is that when they retrench all of these employees, they get rid of them and so on. Okay? I don't want to even begin to address the social problems that can arise, from the psychological and psychosocial problems to the psychiatric problems that could emerge, and to ultimately criminal behavior that could emerge. And there's a whole spectrum that is available here, with all respect to the workers who might be retrenched. But what I do want to tell you is that all of these employees are highly skilled, by and large, employees. They are not unskilled employees. There's an economist, one of Darren's friends, Roger Hussein, and we wrote a book many years ago. And one of the first things we pointed out in that book, it might be the first or the second chapter, is that the presence of oil in the economy of Trinidad and Tobago over a long period has created a dual economy in Trinidad and Tobago. That is to say, an economy in which you have skills and high wages, and an economy in which you have other skills and much lower wages in the rest of the economy. And that was this petrotrade and related sectors of the energy sector. And when you retrench all these workers, you are putting a set of skills on the market with no place to go, right? You are likely to get migration of some of these skills, a brain drain, and talent migration, okay? And you don't know what are going to be the other aspects, because they may get lump sums of money or various grants or whatever it is, and you do not know, as a consequence, what will happen to the family fortunes over time in a situation in which they are not able to engage productively in the economy. But the other big issue, Darren Conrad, when he was speaking, he talked about the fact of revenue, that they have not managed revenue so well, and is wanting to set up a revenue authority, but the first thing is to collect the taxes. And every year they have fallen short of their taxation targets, okay? Every year they have fallen short of their revenue targets. So here you have a situation in which you are retrenching all these thousands of people. It's going to have a ripple effect on the economy, small business, etc. So you're going to have a significant amount of unemployed. Okay, some people say that the ripple effect of this is going to reach 100,000 people. Some people say more. But let us be conservative, right? Let us say at the end of the day we're talking about 20 or 30,000 people. That is 20 or 30 people you are taking out of the PAYE tax bracket in the country. That is the only sure form of taxes for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, besides the petroleum taxes. Because all business taxes can be managed and manipulated on the basis of accounting for profits. Okay? So the one sure predictable source of taxation income is PAYE. And all of that is going to be gone. And let me tell you how little these people have thought about the consequences of their decision. What about NIS? All the NIS that these people are contributing to the national NIS treasury, what happened to that? What is going to happen to that particular institution when you take 30,000 people out of it, let's say, or 40,000 as the case might be? Or if some people are correct, maybe 100,000 people even in the process. What is going to happen? Eh? And what about all the business of severance and pension plan and all these things that have to be met? How are you going to deal with the pensions? You're going to pay them up front, or how are you going to pay for them while they have to receive their life? I mean, these people, some of these people have lifelong pension, until they're dead. All right, and where are you going to get the money from to be able to do this? How are you going to manage this? And finally, I just want to deal with this issue, which is that whether you keep the petrochem processing plant, the refinery, whether you give it away, whether you close it down, whether you sell it, you still have to pay 2 loans. 850 million US that is due next year, 2019, and $750 million that we have to continue to pay until 2022, when we will pay it off. Those 2 loans continue. And the total amount that is being paid for loans annually, every year by Petrotrin, is $900,000 US a year. Okay? Part of that is paid for principal and interest for the 750, and the other part is paid for interest only for the 850, because the principal comes due in a balloon payment in 2019, and that is what the restructuring of the debt has to be about. So I made these 5 points about Petrotrin just to let you know one thing. You are not getting the truth and the facts about what is happening in Petrotrin, and you are not getting a clear and objective view of the facts in totality, in a coherent way, so that as an intelligent citizen, you could ask the right questions and be able to make a discerning judgment about what would be the right decision for the country. That is why so many people are upset and saying that they made all of these decisions without any consultation whatsoever with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Okay? So I leave Petrotrin alone. And I want to say that the route on which we are engaged now for the last 3 years that has gotten us to this point, Petrotrin in a sense is just a kind of metaphor for all the things that have gone wrong. The bad governance of the last 3 years, the short-sightedness of economic policy in the country, the misunderstanding of the management of cash flow and finance, focus only on expenditure, revenue deficit, and recurrent expenditure, without any regard to any developmental intervention and the use of finance for that purpose. And the end result of all of this, Petrotrin is like a metaphor for the bad economics, the bad finance, the bad governance in Trinidad and Tobago. And we cannot continue to go on like this. And I want to say that there are ways in which we could solve the problems in this country. And I agree with Darren Conrad. If we were to change the government in the morning, you will not have a transformation of the economy overnight. It will take time. But you can have no transformation of the economy in the next 2 years with the policies on which we are embarked now. You're not going to get none. It is a continued deterioration of the economy, a continued contracting of every sector, a continued depletion of your revenue base, a continued difficulty of maintaining expenditure, a challenge to maintain the deficit, a challenge to meet recurrent expenditure, and very, very little allocation for development and expenditure that will bring any jobs. And the confidence is so short that the manufacturing sector now is thinking of investing outside where they have less taxes and less hassle, and exporting from outside to Trinidad and Tobago, because logistically it is easy to move the goods in Trinidad and Tobago because of the foreign exchange problems and all these kinds of things. So we have become a very uncertain and unconfident place for investors to invest in. But I want to say this to you. If we had a clear agenda for economic restructuring and diversification, as we do in our party, I think that would make a difference. And if we pursue it diligently. If you had a diversification agenda which takes into account the manufacturing and services base that we already have, but also our human capital assets, if we understood the need to move from fossil fuels and transform to a green economy, if we understood the importance of the ocean around us as an economic asset, and the need to build an applied research capability aligned to a higher value chain strategy to key sectors and new clusters of the economy, and to link that to a world that will soon be dominated by artificial intelligence, we could be building not just diversification, but a new economy to replace the depleting energy economy that is taking place now. Now we're going to have energy for a little while. We have energy now until 2022 with the decisions we made between 2011 and 2014. And we're going to get that, and if the negotiations go well with the government and the oil companies, we are also going to get new drilling that may take us much further, perhaps for another 10 years in terms of oil and gas in the country. So the energy revenue will continue, but we cannot depend on it because we are seeing what is happening to our energy economy. We are seeing what is happening to shale gas across the world. We are seeing what is happening to shale oil across the world. Okay? And we are seeing how the world is moving away from fossil fuel and into renewable energy. And people don't understand. You know, Arthur Lewis, the great economist that came out of the West Indies, he was St. Lucian born. He spent a lot of time in Jamaica, plenty time in Puerto Rico. He used to come here to Trinidad and Tobago from time to time. But he said everything begins with the market. In other words, if you don't understand that you have to sell what you produce and you must produce for a market that can buy it, then you're not in Bhoe, you're not in business. Arthur Lewis said that many, many years ago, decades ago. All right? And the thing that people must understand, what are the biggest economies in the world? China. What is the second biggest economy in the world? India. Which economy is going to pass the other one in a matter of less than a decade in terms of its sustainable growth and sustainability in terms of economic sustainability and stability? India is going to surpass China as far as that is concerned. Because there was a period when China used to have 10% growth, 11% growth. Now it has 6, 7%. India is moving into that direction now, where the rate of growth is going to be rapid because they have a different approach to leadership and a different approach to freeing the people down below. Those two economies, those two countries have legislated that by 2030, 50% of their energy use is going to come from renewables. What is the year that we are in now? 2080. 2030 is how many years away? 12 years away. These are the biggest markets in the world for energy. And they are going away from fossil fuel energy. They are going into renewable energy. What do you think is going to happen together with the shale oil and gas in the United States? What do you think is going to happen to the energy market in the world? Okay? So we have to begin to build a different economy. Not that we are going to throw away the oil, throw away the gas. But we have to understand that the market, the global market for this is not going to be the same way. So we have to build an alternative economy. And where is the world going? Artificial intelligence. Where is the world going? ICT-based services. Where's the world going? What the leader of the opposition likes to talk about as the fourth industrial revolution. The elements of those economic revolutionary activities that have to do with research, technology, science, etc. And that has to do with artificial intelligence and the ICT-based economy. Okay? That is where the world is going, and look how far we are from that. Our whole education system is not geared towards that. The whole world is going sustainable development, and our education system is not teaching people to be purveyors, conveyors, leaders within the framework of a sustainable development model coming out of the university system. We need entrepreneurs and innovators. The curriculum in the university does not emphasize that. Not in the high school either. We need solutions to problems. And in order to have solutions to problems, you have to be a critical thinker and a creative thinker. The curriculum in the university, in the secondary school, does not allow you to do that. It doesn't. You know where the rest of the world is going? In order to get into Cambridge, Oxford, London University, Edinburgh University, they have a consortium of the 6 top universities in the UK. And in order to get in there, you get every single distinction in every subject you sit. They don't accept you. They make you take another test. And that test is for critical and creative thinking, because they feel that those will be the innovative scientists, the creative artists, the genius providers of entrepreneurship and new innovations in the world, because there is something more than information, because the world is full of information. You can find it anywhere. One of the things that I find out at this late age of my life is that I could be going anywhere in the world and I could take my little telephone there and go into Google, and anything I want to find out, I could find it in a second. Right? Any small thing, I go in and I forget something and I want to check it, I'm not sure, I could do that right away. I mean, this is an amazing thing. So, what I am saying to you is that the whole paradigm of development of this country is old style, it is backward, it is disconnected from where the world is going, it is disconnected from where the world markets are going, it is disconnected from where science and technology are taking the world, and it is disconnected from what is happening in the world, because there is a governance for the world system. The fact that India and China in 2030 want to get freed by 50% for fossil fuel energy is because there is something called the Sustainable Development Goals. They are part of the United Nations, they sign an agreement, and they are conforming to that. And the reason they legislated is because they want to force the culture and the economy to do it by law. So I want to say to you that not only are we in a bad way in terms of petroleum, not only are we in a bad way in terms of the economy, not only are we in a bad way in terms of governance, not only are we in a bad way in terms of the capacity for achievement, and not only are we in a bad way because we are losing our business people now, we are losing our talent now, we are losing our confidence now. We're going to throw all these workers in the bamboo now, skilled workers. We are not doing anything in terms of retraining. We're not remodeling the educational system in order to deal with the realities of today and tomorrow that are coming to us at the speed of light because of science and technology influence. And what we are doing, my brothers and sisters, and I'm not joking about this, I spent half my life in politics and parliament and government, is true. But I spend the other half of my life in teaching and learning and education administration. All right? There are thousands of people in this country who can tell you, if they see you and the matter comes up, that I have touched their lives, I've made a difference to their lives, I've made a difference to their attitude, their disposition, their way of seeing, and the way they engage you will. Because I spent a lot of time nurturing people. And when I see what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago today, for the first time in my life, at this point in my life, I am beginning to despair. Because it seems that the economy is rudderless. It seems like the finances are being mismanaged. It seems like the governance system is disintegrating and all the institutions with it. And more than that, as I began, there is a fault line now running through this country that has made everybody in this society nervous. And they are nervous to the extent that they are doing one thing or the other, concerned about one thing more than the other, etc. But everybody is nervous, but they are nervous in their own little corner, worried about their own little situation. And you cannot build a great society on the basis of a nervous people, a crumbling economy, a disintegrating governance structures. It cannot be done. And the people of this country, I want to say to you, this is the last thing I'm going to say. It's true, spent half of my life in politics. And you would describe as a politician. I represent you, I go to the parliament, I take political positions on this, on various things. You would never see me in parliament or elsewhere saying anything nasty about a person or demeaning an individual. I will criticize what they do, what they say. All right, I will criticize how they behave, but you'll never hear me cutting down another person. You will never hear that from me. Okay? But I want to say to you, do not put your faith in politicians alone. You have to trust politicians because they are your leaders. They represent you and they stand for you. But you have to put some faith in you too. You have to bring your family together. You have to make them understand what are the challenges they are facing. You have to bring your community together. You have to reach out to others in the society, discuss, talk. What is in the best interest of the community? What is in the best interest of the society? How can I create a world in which my children can be better, in which my grandchildren could have a future? We do not see that now. Darren told you, where is the highest unemployment, Darren? In the young people, most of them UE and UTT and Coastal graduates. So, what is the point? What are we doing? We're spinning top in mud. We have to move away from this system. And if we are to move away from this system, we have to move away from backward politics, backward politicians, and backward political and economic thinking. We cannot do it by staying there with them, with that. We have to move forward. And this is what I want to urge you to do, because it's not just an economic question. It is not just a governance question. It is not just a finance question. It's not just a sociology or a socio-economic condition question. It is also a question about the kind of world we help to build, where we are living, and the kind of world our children get. Do you feel secure about the future of your children? I don't think so. If you have grandchildren like I do you feel secure? I worry about them every day. I talking to my 12-year-old grandson, right? And I'm talking, and here the conversation goes after we go in for a little time. He said, well, you know, now when I go out with my friends and I go to see like a movie in movie town and so on, you always have to be looking back and wondering if somebody going to attack you, and you have to look out for one. And boy is 12 years old, going to Hillview. I say, boy, you live with that consciousness in you? He said, but how you mean? He said, we live in here, in Trinidad. He said, you have to be like that. And I don't want to carry the conversation any further because I do not want to add to his anxiety and his angst. But I leave him quiet and I go by myself and I'm thinking about it. What a horrible, horrible thing. For a child of that age to be thinking those kinds of things and to be living with that level of consciousness. And I didn't ask the younger boy who is 8. But I suppose he's not exposed to the same thing. He's now into cricket and football and things. So, I mean, I suppose they're in the schoolyard and they're all right. But, I mean, it is really a problem. We cannot continue like this. And my own feeling is, with your permission, some of the things I'm speaking about here, I will speak to in the Parliament. I will take some of the concerns that you've raised, I will integrate them in what I will prepare, because I never go unprepared. I never go with a speech, but I go with notes, because you can't always remember everything. And sometimes I forget, I might have 5 or 6 things in my mind, and by the time I reach the third one, I forget what the fourth one is. So it's better to make a little notes so you know what is happening. And I want to leave a little time, maybe 15 minutes now, for anything else you might want to ask or anything that you might want to say. And I want to tell you that the hope in the country now has to come from you. And it cannot come from talk, it has to come from action. Talk is not going to take us anywhere. We have to deal with action now. We have to make up our mind to build this country. Individual by individual, family by family. Community by community, region by region, society by society. And we have to do that. We have to do that with vigor and with energy and with optimism and with collaboration and cooperation. We have to do it now, or else we will lose everything. Believe you me, we headed there. Because there was not a country in the world that was ever saved by economics and politics alone. Not a country saved by economics and politics alone. Thank you very much.